Hi everyone, and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global Podcast. We're coming to you from BMC Engage in Las Vegas. I'm Kirsty McGowan, I'm here with Charlie Betts.
Kirsty.
Carlos Casanova.
Kirsty.
And now we're talking to Doug Hynes from Freighted Health.
That's correct. Nice to meet you.
I got it. Nice to meet you too, Doug.
Welcome, Doug. So, Doug, the pace at which everything's happening these days, we've been hearing it for years, but it seems like our user experiences in our everyday worlds is just going faster and faster. In the corporate area, that's impacting it directly. So, we know that budgets are being cut, headcount's being reduced, and we keep hearing the old, you have to do more with less and faster and stuff. So, how is that sort of thing impacting you, day to day in your organization and what you're doing, and and trying to deliver that experience, but yet with less?
You're right. It is obviously more with less, and the second has become the new minute. You have customers, and you have fellow employees that want things to work like they would on a mobile device. They click a button, things happen instantly. So in order to combat that, you really start to look at modifying your workflows. They have to be efficient.
Right.
They can't take days, hours anymore. They have to work instantly, if not a little bit slower than instantly.
Right.
And in terms of being able to balance the budget, you're not going to be able to have 3 or 4 compatriots and full-timers working with you.
Yep.
You're going to be dependent on really smart contractors and consultants. And that's what you have to live with in this world.
Right, right. So, I mean, that's a huge challenge, right? So are you guys using a lot more tools to help supplement some of that? I mean, obviously you can use the contracts and stuff, but it seems like the tools really need to start stepping up to help you get a lot of that done that maybe otherwise you need a lot more resources for.
You do use a lot more tools, and you do a lot more market research to make sure that you're not just buying random software. Right. The tool has to match what you're trying to solve, find the right answer to the right problem. And along with that, making sure that it doesn't break that budget.
Yeah.
So you can find the most wonderful tool in the world, but if it doesn't meet the bottom line, you can't buy it.
So are you mostly a purchase software shop, or are you you have a lot of custom development as well?
So we try to do best practice out of box, but at some point in time, we're a round peg, that's a square box.
Yeah.
We're going to have to shave it down a little bit, but you don't want to shave it so much that, again, you're going to have to go back to those consultants and use their aid to get you upgraded to the next platform. So you have to make sure you're doing whatever the best practice from whatever software vendor you're buying from is to do those customizations while staying in the realm of upgrade.
Yeah, I've seen that with a couple of customers over the past 2 or 3 years. As you get in there and they actually are in huge strife because they've customised an application to the extent that the vendor can no longer support them, and so then they have to then take that back to some sort of a vanilla install so they can even get that support to move forward just a little bit. It's a nightmare situation in a lot of organisations.
And then it gets scary once you start to think about the records and the specific type of data. You can't lose that. You have to maintain it. So not only are you now trying to make sure that the workflows work and that the forms are right, but that the data is still maintained and accessible.
I mean, and you're working in health, so having data maintained and accessible and accurate is pretty important.
Having federal regulations helps make sure that you're following the line.
Have you found that that's, HIPAA and whatnot has really changed even the day-to-day in terms of how you're doing your operations and whether it's incidents and stuff like that? Have you found that it changed that drastically?
I wouldn't say it changed it drastically. We had to get smart. As soon as our federal mandates came out, everybody has to have an electronic medical record. Right. And they started creating all the rules around it. We had to make sure that we were following those rules, but still maintaining positive workflow. So occasionally we do run into, let's say, an incident that gets submitted that has some PHI in it. Well, we have to have certain workflows in there to obviously remove it, and then the education to go back to that person and say, okay,
Please don't do that.
We know you have an MD, but let's re-educate you on how to do this. And MDs, while they are very haughty, understand that they can't just be putting patient information out there. And I guess another thing I would put out there is you have to look at the speed at which people are doing things. A lot of people are going cloud. A lot of people are going managed service, hosted services. In healthcare, that's scary.
It is.
Because is that PHI, that personal health information, getting out? Is it safe? Are we going to have a Target or a Home Depot situation? So a lot of healthcare industries are still keeping things in-house, still doing stuff on the premise. They're not allowed to go to cloud.
And I would think from an availability perspective, take for instance, a surgeon or something. He's performing, surgery, obviously, kind of fits. They do that a lot.
That and golf.
That and golf. But they're accessing now information during surgery. In that medical room, that operating room. What if they can't access the personal record to get information? What if they can't access the X-rays? If they can't access that information, and those incidents, it's not we'll be with you. Here's your ticket anymore, right?
So there's two schools of thought. The first thing that people always need to remember is stay calm. People have been
if you're on the gurney, you're very calm.
But people have been doing doctoring and surgery long before computers were ever running.
Sure.
Now, the computers help us make better decisions, more informed, quicker, faster. Everything's great. And hospitals realize that you have to have that information even if there's a network outage, even if there's a power outage. So we have, in my environment, we have what are called red downtime PCs. Red, emergency, downtime, things have gone wrong. And they keep offline backups of everything. So in the worst case of worst cases, we can still go back to these specific machines.
So they wouldn't go to paper?
They could go to paper.
They could?
Yeah, and these red downtime machines would actually print out the paper.
Oh, wow.
But again, it's all available to them. They
Right.
could print out the X-rays from various PACS machines, et cetera.
Wow.
So it is there. But we had to plan for it.
Yeah, well, it's business continuity, to at a certain extreme, and that makes a lot of sense.
So are in that kind of case, is that something that is across, obviously there's probably more than one location that you guys support. That's just a practice across the board that those red down machines are out there and available for everyone?
Yes, and we even run a daily report to make sure that they are on, upgraded, patched, et cetera.
Wow.
And even if just somebody at the end of the day turned that PC off, the next morning we know about it and somebody has to go back out and turn it back on.
Right.
Wow.
Because we want to make sure it's always keeping the latest and greatest.
That's great. I love hearing that, especially if
Yeah,
we're
so
in
do
your
I.
area and I was going in for procedure, because the reality is now, whether it's downtime because of an outage, cybersecurity, that's just a real thing. It's not if, but when you get breached, and it scares you to think that you might be the one on the gurney, when there's a breach and they've access. So facilities like that have that backup and stuff. That's it is an extreme. But honestly, there's certain markets, industries that I think you have to have that. So,
while the doctor is saving your life, we're helping the doctor save your life.
And I would appreciate that.
And I think health is probably one industry where you really have to focus on who that end customer is, and that is
always keep that in mind.
That is the patient. So if you've got that in mind all the time, that what you're doing affects an outcome for someone at the end of that line. That's
one of the great things one of my mentors at the hospital told me is to remember, if you're thinking about doing a shortcut, how is that shortcut going to affect your loved one who is on the table in the ED?
Yep.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah. You tend to not take those shortcuts then, unless you're 100% sure that they're safe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I've experienced it. In a different way in engineering. I was with an organization that we did work in a different space, and they were moving to medical, or trying to reapply the concepts and the products into medical. And there were a lot of the engineers that weren't comfortable with it for that very reason. And it was kind of interesting. They were like, oh, we're okay with the tolerance in this segment, in this industry, but now it might be my mother, it might be my sister, it might be my son, And they were like, I don't know if I'm comfortable. And these were like incredibly intelligent engineers that had, very successful products, but the level of tolerance they weren't comfortable with. And it changes your perspective on things.
I'm an engineer by background, and a great engineering phrase is to remember this, to mix healthcare and engineering for you. Doctors may unfortunately end someone's life by the singles. Engineers can end someone's life by the hundreds.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, thanks for your time. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, well, thank you.
A very interesting conversation.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.